All right, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Tommy Z in the place to be on the MIC. I got my chef of the musical kitchen,
Hello, everybody.
Matteo, is in the house. I got my beautiful case study that our teachings are not useless. Stian is in the house, putting the practice to work.
Hello.
And then we have all sorts of beautiful people in the chat. We see England, we see Brazil, we see India, we see New York, Ohio, US, wherever you're from, please tell us your name. And I'm really happy to have you guys here. And I don't want to waste any time because I basically promised myself that I will condense this to an hour. We'll keep it really sharp, precise. You guys will have opportunity to ask questions. And I have Matteo and Stian here because they are the ones who literally took whatever I teach and they applied it. So I think they are actually closer to anybody who's watching this because they're a musician with a home studio, with successes, with sorrows, with trials, tribulations, peaks and valleys. They understand. They understand you guys. I'm a bit removed because, I've been in the game for a while. I take a lot of things for granted. I forget to address a lot of basic questions. I like the metaphor of journey. And so I basically sketched out with my amazing drawing talents. I sketched out, I don't know if you guys can see this. Whenever I get into anything, guys, I like to actually visualize the whole thing. Like, why would I start anything unless I can know what the destination is and what the steps required along the way are? And so I basically try to structure today's teaching in a way which will allow you to see the entire picture. We're going to move through it very fast. We're not going to, go under the microscope. We're not going to get granular unless some of you guys ask specific questions. We can get into specific questions. But this is essentially the entire journey that we're looking at. And we're just going to go one by one and dive into it stage by stage. Okay, guys? So let me start over here with this journey. Okay, first of all, who is this for? This is for any freelance musician, no matter where you are in the world. You have a home studio. It doesn't have to be fancy. It can be a laptop. It can be a full-fledged analog studio. Doesn't matter. All that matters is that you can craft fully polished songs, scores, or sounds, and you can do it from scratch, and you can do it fairly fast. And I know all of you will be at different levels, but this is what you're aiming for, essentially, okay? And you're here because you don't want music to just be your hobby. You are serious and committed to actually using your musical talent to earn a living. And you're hoping that you can do that without having to sell music or stream or tour, although none of those things, I mean, you do whatever you want with your life. If that's what you want to do, you can do this. But the path that I've been on personally for the past 17 years does not require any selling. I've not done any selling. I'm not doing any streaming. I'm not doing any touring. But basically, I think those of you who are here, you didn't just sign up and then not show up. A lot of people do that, but you're actually here. That shows a level of commitment. And I hope to make it up to you by giving you some things that open your eyes to new possibilities in a very practical way. Okay. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what gear you have. The only thing that matters in our business to get traction is what actually comes out of the speaker and how it makes the listener feel. And as I like to say, it's not about the gear. Hint, hint, Black Friday coming up, spending money on plugins and gear you don't need. It's not about the gear. It's always about the goosebumps. All right. So we have that. Check. So today, what are we doing? Less than an hour. You're going to be far ahead of 95. What is it? I calculated 95.3% of musicians on planet Earth, because you're going to face the problem. Okay. We're going to face the problem that we all face as musicians, for real. We're going to open our eyes to the possibility. We're going to establish a viable path and not just like hypothesis or theories or trends. We're going to look at concrete things that put money on the table. And I'm going to tell you exactly how much musicians in our path can expect to make. We're going to talk about the process of how music in our industry is made and the people involved that you need to worry about. We're going to talk about how you should prepare yourself in order to make contact with our business. And finally, we're going to talk about how you're going to get your first paying project. And we're going to do all of this, hopefully, in under an hour. And again, whoever doesn't know our Z and Co family, let me just tell you, we're not these online guys who are trying to get your Instagram up or your streams up. We have no idea how to get your streams up. I have no idea how to get Instagram followers. I don't care how to get Instagram followers. I'm only teaching you the things that we are doing, okay? There's no theory here. And there's, I think, very few really, really legit resources online today that teach musicians how to actually make a living with your talent. There's even fewer people who are actually doing for money what they're teaching online to other musicians. And I think I don't remember seeing any teaching that teaches this specific niche, even though it's a very concrete, viable, practical, concrete way to commission yourself and your musical talent to make a buck. Okay. And at the end of this, or somewhere in the middle, just because you guys are here, you're going to be the first to find out what our Black Friday offer is. And I hope you will consider it, because unlike spending money on certain things that we're surrounded with in our studio, there's very few things that actually pay me back, that actually return on the investment. And I think teaching is one of the things that has returned itself multiple ways in my career. And so I'm never afraid to invest in my education. I just need to make sure that whoever's teaching me has actually done what they're talking about. Okay. All right. So that's done. What we will cover. Why should you listen to us? I don't know if anyone has been on my website, tommyz.co. We will look at Stian's website. We'll look at Matteo's website. But like I just said, we are teaching what we're doing. I've done close to 1,000 campaigns, 3 different continents all over the world. I've worked with pretty much every brand that everybody knows. And my role is to teach freelance musicians from the perspective of someone who has experience to hire freelance musicians and makes those decisions and supervises a project, big projects, small projects, whatever, high pressure projects. So I'm teaching you from a perspective of someone who makes decisions. Okay, which freelance musicians am I going to work with? I think that's very valuable. But like I said, we also have Stian and Matteo here because they're going to make it real for you. They are the ones who are practically applying what I'm teaching, and they're getting the jobs. They're getting commissioned to work on very big campaigns. They're making money doing this. And so they're here for you also in case you want to ask questions. All right. So what are some rules for the road ahead? There's not many rules. I'm going to try to not talk too much. It's already 15 after. I'm going to try to limit this to like, let's say 30 to 40 minutes of teaching. We're going to do about 20 to 30 minutes of Q&A. I'm going to talk a little bit about our masterclass and the invitation, our Black Friday special that you all can take advantage of earlier than anyone else. And again, guys, this is for you. So ask your questions in the chat. I'm going to look at the questions in a bit. If you don't come up with a good question or there's something you want to ask, maybe not on the chat, feel free to email us at support@makingmusicforbrands.com. All right, guys. So that's that. So let us zoom out and see what's next. We're going to face the problem. Let's face the problem first, because unless we face our problems, they're always going to plague us. We can't really run away from them. So let us dive in here. What are some of the things that we're facing as problems as musicians today? Okay. And if you're serious, you have to face them. If this is just a hobby for you, you don't have to worry about it. But the facts that we have to face, and these are facts, people don't pay for music anymore. They don't have to. They can stream it for free. Streaming pays less than pennies. There's a link here. I'm not going to open it up, but essentially it's like micro pennies. It's 0.00 whatever, right? There really is no direct control that you have over your streams. Of course, you can publish your music to streaming platforms, and if you want to do it, you should do it. But there's no direct control that you have over what's going to happen. Maybe they go well, maybe they don't go well. Anyone who's toured or been on stage, you might have experienced this feeling of touring getting tiring. We know that during the pandemic, there's been concerts that have been canceled really suddenly without warning. In fact, a lot of people joined our academy because their way of making a living was touring, and suddenly that was taken away from them, and they didn't really know what to do, right? Another problem that we have to face is music is not special or rare. It is widely available today. Okay, so that should give you pause. Because if there's so much of it available and it's free, like why should I think that my music is special or that anyone would pay for it, right? Plus, music libraries are packed with good tracks. So why should I even bother, or should I be working with music libraries? We're going to answer that. And of course, we get a lot of comments under our videos saying, well, the robots are going to replace you very soon. So it's just a matter of time. So what do we do about that? So we're going to talk about that also. But also, if we're facing problems, we should also ask ourselves some serious questions, right? And here's some questions that I think are good starters. Number one, do you have a clear destination, which determines what actions you're going to take as a musician? Because if you don't have a clear destination, and I'm speaking from personal experience, how do you know what you're going to do in the limited time that you have? Again, personal experience. I used to dream of making a living from music, but I had a day job. And then when I got home from the day job, I'm like, well, I'm already tired. That's one. And two, I probably got maybe an hour or two left in me. So what am I going to do with those 1 or 2 hours? And what did I do? I basically started like a million loops. There's a million loops on my hard drive, and maybe I would think of releasing an EP, maybe an album, maybe this, maybe or that, but I never felt a sense of progress. I never felt a sense of momentum. And I think it's because I didn't have a very concrete destination. Okay. If you're doing music as a hobby, this is fine. You come home from work, you doodle, you dabble, you sketch something. It's cool. I love doing that even today, right? It's enjoyable. You're a musician. Great. But if you are serious, you're going to have to decide, okay, what is it that I'm actually aiming for? Because if I know what I'm aiming for, I know what the steps are going to be. Okay. And I can every day spend that hour, half an hour, 2 hours, whatever you have, to take at least one little step in a deliberate direction. Because as long as you're doing that, it doesn't matter how small the step is, you're going to be facing in a particular direction. So any movement is going to be progress. And once you're moving and in a deliberate direction, you're gaining momentum, and you're going to feel that. And that's going to drive you on. Whereas doodling and dabbling is just going to basically scatter you all over the place. You're not going to feel a sense of momentum. And that's why a lot of musicians feel a sense of, they're kind of discouraged, right? It's like, I don't even see the vision. I don't see what's on the horizon. I don't even know what I'm working toward. Like releasing another song, who cares? There's going to be 1,000 more songs released, right? Not that you should give up on releasing music. But certainly, if you do want to spend your life in a studio without having to get a day job, then I think it's worthwhile to consider what it is that we're talking about here. And it's a very concrete destination with very concrete steps. And so you don't have to worry about not knowing what to do if you only have half an hour a day, because you have a day job and you have a very limited amount of time to work on your musical dream. All right. Is there any questions so far? Let me check in here. Stian, Matteo, am I making sense so far? You guys on board? You want to add something? You good?
Yes, it sounds good. There was this one guy who said that he's planning on selling a few things to take the masterclass, bro. Like that.
Well, you know what? That's commitment. And I mean, that shows me you're serious. And you know, let me tell you, I think I've said this on videos before. When it comes to actually making a living from music, the things that I will send an invoice for and that I'm directly responsible for working on: laptop, external hard drive, headphones. That's it. Maybe audio interface, not in my case though, Stian, because you're actually singing, you're
Yeah,
actually recording. That's your magic. For me, I'm all inside the box, man.
yeah, it's
I'm
true.
Give me 14 instances of omnisphere and watch out. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a joke within the industry. Like, how many instances of omnisphere can you open in your session? The truth is, guys, a lot of briefs that we work on in advertising, they don't, it's like once you learn your way around them, you learn what tools you need. And in my case, I honestly have everything in my laptop that I need in order to give you the goosebumps. But like Stian said, you probably need an audio interface if you're going to record some guitar, which I don't. If you're going to record some amazing vocals like Matteo or Stian, which I don't. But that's all you need. Honestly, that's all you need. So please, please resist the temptation of Black Friday 80% off just because it's 80% off, whatever. Do you really need another compressor plugin? I don't know. It's a good question, right? It's a good question to ask. All right, guys, let's keep moving. Let me go back to my journey so I can see it. Let us zoom out. So we faced our problems. Good. We have a bit of a way to go still. But now that we faced our problems, we can turn them into possibilities. Okay. So let me literally take each problem that we talked about and let me turn it, remix it into a possibility. First problem, people don't have to pay for music anymore. Okay. We're gonna remix that. Okay. We're gonna stop trying to squeeze pennies from people who can stream the music for free. And instead, we're gonna go, okay, are there any places that are actually needing custom music, I said, not existing music. And do they have the ability to pay for custom music? Those are good questions, right? And they're kind of rhetorical. But let's keep moving. Second problem, streaming pays less than pennies, okay? And secondly, you don't really have direct control over these things. So I'm going to remix that into, okay, what I want to do as a commissioned craftsperson, musical craftsperson, I want to focus on the kind of actions and building the kind of assets that I can actually control. Okay. I don't want to play to the algorithm. And believe me, like we're doing that sometimes, with our YouTube channel, this and that. It's tiring. Honestly, it's tiring playing to the algorithm. You know what's not tiring or not tiring as much, or sometimes even enjoyable, is marching with the people who are on your frequency, is going to battle with people who you enjoy sharing the room with. Okay. And that's what I call playing long-term games with long-term people. All right. Which in our case means you got to target the right people who are going to become your clients. We're going to hear from Stian and Matteo, and some of them actually, become your friends. Some of them are very enjoyable to work with. But even if they don't become your best friends, I mean, still, it's not so bad making music for someone for a few hours and then sending an invoice, right? That's what we're focusing on. Not playing to the algorithm, long-term games with long-term people. Touring is tiring, unpredictable, sure. So what are we going to do? We're going to focus on turning our home studio into your new stage. So you don't have to leave your house. If you want to, you can. I know Stian is touring, and that's fine. I mean, maybe you guys get a kick out of touring. But what I'm saying is that you can turn your home studio into a really thriving business. And that's what we're focusing on. Okay. And you don't ever have to leave your house to send music or invoices. I think that's a beautiful thing, guys. Honestly, make music in your pajamas and send an invoice. It's beautiful. And on this path, it's not only possible, but that's the way we do it. Another problem, music is not rare or special. Music libraries are eating our lunch. Robots will soon destroy us. It's kind of clumping everything into one. Okay. So let's address that. Music is not rare. It does flow out of the tap like water. But a song, score, or sound that hits you in the feels in the right way at the right moment when you're watching something, just as the storyteller intended, that's very rare. Okay. And I hear every day from film directors and agencies and whoever needs to get music right for a particular piece of content is like, yeah, the music libraries have really high quality tracks. And you know what? We found some amazing tracks from some indie bands. But guess what? There's a spot where we need the music to do this, this, and this, and it just freaking doesn't do it. And we tried editing it this way and that way, it just won't do it. And that's the biggest reason why Stian is being commissioned, why Matteo will be commissioned, why music houses that hire freelance musicians are commissioned, because they need a custom tailor suits. So just as custom tailors will never compete with Zara, neither will remarkable musical tailors ever compete with music libraries for that simple reason. And remarkable brands, to anyone who's been in this game, you will know that remarkable brands do not shop for music in music libraries for their campaigns. They just don't. Okay. There's a number of reasons for it. If we have a small brand, local brand, yeah, sure. They might go to Audio Jungle. They might go to Music Bed. But big brands, they do not want to appear at a party wearing the same dress as another brand. Because the whole essence of the brand is to stand out, is to be original, is to say, hey, we are unique. Now, you're not exactly unique if I can tell that your music came from a music library, right? And brands don't want to get caught out like that. They have to be culturally relevant, all right? Right now, as of right now, robots, and we had a conversation recently with Mark Dometric from a big music house in Toronto. We're all testing, guys. We're all testing the AI. Right now, robots and AI is laughable when it comes to making ambitious music. It's nowhere close. It's just as simple as that, okay? And real craftspeople are needed in the process. And I'm just not convinced that there will ever come a time when a really vibey film director will prefer to keep spending his whole day or night writing prompts into a chat instead of being in the room with Stian or Matteo or me, having a few good laughs, maybe sharing a bottle of wine. I don't know. That's how we used to do it. Now everything is remote work. We literally used to get together for sessions, and it was fun. And I couldn't ever see how that would compare to like staring at a screen and typing chat prompts. I'm not saying AI is not going to be an essential part of the process. It probably will be. But I really envision a future where AI, what it's going to do is help it easier for craftspeople to do their magic. So whatever we had to do before that was maybe tedious, like setting up a session, like maybe trying to find some chords, like whatever. Let AI do that, sure. We need to be the ears and the sensibility that chooses how things unfold in time, so that the film director goes, oh my goodness, what did you do? What did you do? Right? That whole magic, that unpredictability, that understanding of how to tackle a story musically. In the future, who knows? We might have bigger problems. Robots might eat us. Yeah. But we're here today. Let's focus on the now, right? And I can tell you that even though in our business, people have been saying, oh, it's over. 20 years ago, they were saying that. When I got into business, they were saying it. Oh, there's all these basement musicians now. They're going to take over. Still, music houses exist. Still, it's a thriving business. Still, there's a huge amount of content being done as we speak. And someone needs to cut a custom tailor soundtrack for it. Okay. So that's where we stand. Okay. So we faced the problems. We looked at how to remix those problems into possibilities. Now I want to give you the magic formula. Essentially, it's a foundation. Whether you decide to make music for brands or films or whatever, really what we're talking about and what we're teaching is a different mindset that I want you to internalize, adopt it, and start acting on it. And this is, we're not trying to sell music as a product to people or platforms. What we're trying to do is sell our skills as a service to places that have the need and ability to pay for remarkable songs, scores, and sounds made from scratch specifically for the creative brief. It's as simple as that. That's what we're doing over here, okay? You can take a screenshot of it if you find this helpful. But where this mindset or where this remix leads us is that it's not really about the music then. It's not about this song or that song, because there are songs everywhere flowing out of the tap like water. What it's about and what we actually teach in our academy and the transformation we're trying to achieve is actually turning you from an dabbling, doodling amateur to a reliable craftsperson who's going to be commissioned as a source of musical solutions, whatever they are. That very specific people on this side of the fence in our business, they will keep coming back to you because they keep having this problem. I have a campaign, I have a piece of content, I have a commercial. The agency is driving me nuts because they want very specific sounds at very specific points. We've looked, we can't find the right music. We need to commission someone. This happens every single day. Okay. And so what I'm saying is it's not about the song, it's about you, because if you establish yourself as a reliable source of musical answers, you're going to have emails in your inbox every single day. Campaign after campaign, week after week, month after month, for many years to come. I'm not even looking for work anymore. Okay. I'm not looking for work. I'm not looking to do more ads. They're still trickling in. I'm sending 0 emails. I'm relying only on whatever contacts I made in the past, and still projects are trickling in. And so this is the huge value of not betting on a song and playing that whole lottery of is it going to get chosen or not, but betting on yourself as somebody who's able to address these challenges and solve them very quickly and with magic. Because you're going to have opportunities for years if you can do that. Okay. So what our clients expect is to leave the musical problem with you. And if you send them back something amazing, that trust is going to start building, and they're going to just keep sending you every problem that they have. And that's what you're counting on. Okay. So I hope you can see the difference. What you're not trying to sell is tap water. You're not trying to sell the music. You're not trying to become a commodity like a file that can be easily copied. What you're trying to do is turn yourself into a priceless asset that very specific places and people will turn to solve a real need that we have in our business. Okay. If you do it well once, you're going to get to do it again. And if you do it well again, you're going to get to do it again and again and again. That's how it works. It's that simple. All right, guys. And I say this because in the world of sync, which everyone is always talking about, it's not about you. They throw 100 songs at some kind of a, queue or a campaign or a piece of content. And yes, maybe it's your song that wins and you get a huge check, and that's amazing. But that's a lottery. And what we're trying to do is increase the amount of actions that we have control over that achieve a particular result. So licensing to me and sync is a nice home run that kind of comes unexpected. But what I want you to do is learn how you can control the chance of you receiving an email with a paid project in your inbox. That's the whole exercise here. Okay. So let's talk about the path very quickly. What is the actual path that we're talking about? Let me zoom in here. The hidden path, guys. The hidden path is very well defined in our business. Okay. It's actually very specific, very concrete. What we're doing here is essentially you're a freelance musician, you have your home studio, and you're going to try to be commissioned to write songs, scores, or sounds from scratch, okay, most of the time. And they're going to be written specifically to a creative brief for audiovisual content that will usually come from some kind of a brand, okay? Now, why do we target brands? We target brands because brands are in the business of creating feelings. A brand is not in the business of manufacturing a product. I hope you understand this. There's some business, nameless factory, that manufactures Red Bull, and then they ship the Red Bull to Red Bull, and then Red Bull pays them for manufacturing the tin cans with some potion in it. But the reason Red Bull is because they're creating feelings and stories. And that's why you pay more for Red Bull than for a no-name brand, right? And so that's why we go there, because there's a need and there's an ability to pay. Brands need to stir up people's emotions. That's why they produce audiovisual content. Music is a huge part of stirring up emotions. Let's click this link here. How much are brands spending, guys? This is 2023. Let's see. 2023 alone, estimate 656 billion spent globally on all forms of advertising. Digital advertising accounting for 64%. So the big change we've seen recently is that brands are moving to online. But still, we're doing tons of social media campaigns where custom music is necessary. Okay. Even if you were to take this away and say, oh, okay, but this is online, so who knows what that's about? I'm talking about traditional ad spend, TV, radio, cinema, $234 billion. I mean, that's some crazy money right there. And you know that music is a huge part. I mean, it's at least 50% of the spot. Unfortunately, we don't get 50% of the budget for a TV spot. But that's how important music is in any particular audiovisual communication, right? The interesting thing is our business is actually hidden. Like nobody talks about making music for brands. And when people hear about us, they say, "Oh, I know what you're all about. Your corporate music or your sync or your licensing." We're not that. And we're going to talk about some misconceptions next, okay? I'm not sure why our world is hidden, but I think it's maybe because it's not as obvious or glamorous as composing for Hollywood films or big TV shows or huge video games. It is very often confused with sync and licensing, which is not, because we're talking about actually creating custom songs, scores, and sounds. And I think the biggest reasons is because a lot of people in our industry, and I know a lot of people in our industry, they're busy doing the thing. I happen to be in a place in my career after producing 1,000 spots where I said, I pretty much have seen everything there is to see in this business. I've worked directly with brands. I work with big agencies, with big film directors, been there, done that. And I started to get restless. I'm like, well, how else can I stimulate myself? And, actually teaching this business, which no one else is doing, I found that to be very fun and rewarding. Because then what I'm doing is actually just passing on the knowledge, and guys like Stian or Matteo are applying it and unlocking whatever potential they have musically and putting themselves in a place where they don't have to go to a day job anymore. They can actually do some, music for commercials or brands, and then spend the rest of the time working on art or whatever they want to do, but they don't have to leave the studio. That's very, very important, because if you stay in the studio, I think that's a lot more powerful than dividing your life. Because if you're in the studio working on ads, obviously you're learning the skills along the way. A lot of these skills you can apply in your personal artistry or art or whatever project you're working on. All right. The other thing that I want you guys to think about as far as possibilities go is think of a brand beyond the usual thing we associate with a brand. Usually think Nike, Google, Adidas. Yeah. A brand is a lot more than that. Okay. It's not just a huge retailer. It's not just a huge telecom. A sports team is a brand. A person is a brand. A country is a brand. A city is a brand. I've done countless campaigns for cities. Government paid, where a city is promoted. Tourism is promoted, right? So you have to really kind of expand your mind and understand that we're not just talking about brand as the brand that everyone traditionally knows, okay? Basically, your client could be whoever creates audiovisual content that they hope will make them stand out, because that's why they're creating it, okay? And a lot of that will have to do with using custom sound, because everyone is like, it's just so easy to grab a track from Music Bed or Audio Jungle, whatever, slap it on a film. It's nothing remarkable, right? And so anyone who's trying to stand out and make this content, you could consider as a potential client. And just to give you a practical example of this, in the past few years, I've actually not done as many ads, although we're still doing ads. We're still doing social media content for big brands. When I say content, I just mean the music and sound portion. But it's been really interesting for me because I've actually been commissioned to create soundscapes and whole soundtracks for museums, for exhibitions, for national sports teams, of campaigns that will never go to air in a traditional way. They'll never go on TV. Okay, but they still want to promote themselves for a particular event. I've done sound design for public transport, sound logos for public transport companies. Okay. We're actually going to be working with a thought leader now on creating a suite of sound for them so they can stand out and create a certain vibe and aura about them so that people associate them with a certain, you know, uh, with certain thoughts, basically, because that's what a brand is. That's where you associate someone with certain emotions and feelings and memories, right? So I just really want to expand your mind about that. About what a brand is. Okay. And obviously, you're a brand also. And whether you like it or not, everything that you are and everything that you do and the unique way in which you do it is what makes up your brand. And I think the difference between someone amateur who doodles and dabbles and someone who is actually serious about making a living with music, if you don't internalize and act on the fact that you're a brand, as a band, as a composer, as a producer, I don't I don't foretell a good future. I don't. Okay. Because now, especially, there's so many musicians, and what you want to do is put yourself in a position where your proposition, your magic is very clear to the person that's about to commission you. And there's various ways to do that when you're showcasing yourself, and we're going to get into that. Okay. Let's go through these misconceptions very quickly so that you don't discount making music for brands thinking that you already know what it is. Because a lot of people say, oh, it's corporate jingles. They suck. I don't want to do that. Or, oh, you mean music libraries? Because that's where brands find their music, right? Yeah, I already know about this path. It's sync and licensing, right? That's how ads get their music or brands. Or, oh, yeah, okay. So you're talking about selling your soul to the devil. I get that comment like once in every 4 or 5 videos. So some truths about the path, okay? It's not corporate music, although it can be sometimes, but when brands need corporate music, they will go to some kind of music library. They don't need us, musicians who are trying to deliver magic, okay? But we're talking about the kind of campaigns and content where we're not talking about jingles or audio jungle. We're talking about something that, you're not going to go to Stian and ask for something plain. You're not going to go to Matteo or ask for something plain. Like, you can get that anywhere. What they're looking for is a custom tailor with a beautiful suit that I can't buy at Winners or TJ Maxx or whatever the equivalent is of a, custom store. Big brands don't source their music from music libraries. There's a specific process. There are specific people that you're going to have to get to know and work with. And this process has been going on for decades, guys. Decades. I don't know, 40 years probably. It hasn't changed, this process. There has been changes within the process, of course, because of technology and other things, but it's essentially the same step by step and the same people involved. We're not talking about throwing your song into a lottery, okay, and hoping for the best. We're talking about a reliable rhythm of projects that are going to happen when you connect and build relationships with the right people in our industry. And talking about selling your soul to the devil, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You have to have an ethos. You have to have a mantra. You have to have rules as a creative craftsperson. And you can decide which projects you're going to take on and which you aren't. And to the degree that you actually do provide magic and you are in demand and people do want to work with you, they will respect that. They will respect that you don't want to deal with McDonald's, for instance. I've had composers or artists that we try to work with. They said, I'm not going to work with McDonald's. Then Apple came and they turned around and they said, yeah, I'll do Apple. No problem. Right. So it's really your choice. But I have to laugh at a lot of these idealistic musicians who will be typing these rants about, like, if you make music for advertising, you're selling your soul to the devil. But they're typing it on some kind of device, right? Maybe Android, maybe Google, maybe iPhone, right? I mean, there's no way to get around the fact that a brand is a viable fact of life. You're a brand, okay? We're dealing with brands on an everyday basis. Again, you have to make a conscious choice. Which brands do you want to participate or collaborate with, which you don't? But Brian Eno, I think he's a smart guy. I think Ray Charles was a magician, beautiful music, smart guy. Michael Jackson, I mean, I don't need to say. I don't think they sold their soul to the devil. I think they played their career smart. They all work with brands, and there's countless other examples that I can give of bona fide musicians, real good musicians, not some fluffy, superficial, show people. I'm talking about real artists that have worked with brands, and their career benefited as a result. Okay, so what makes this path special? And I'm gonna go through this quickly, guys, because I want to actually get into the meat of like how do you get inside of this process, right? But I think the pluses are important to differentiate this path from other paths. Okay, so the first thing I will say is the reason why I like this path is because things move fast. Work happens fast, you finish it fast, and you invoice fast. If you compare that with like scoring a film, you're sitting there with a director for like 6 months and playing a drone on Omnisphere so that you don't conflict with the dialogue. So in our in our industry, a lot of times music has to play the hero, but the project happens so fast, which means that you can do a lot of projects and you can send more invoices. That's a beautiful thing. The work happens often. Okay. Every day there are audio-visual campaigns and content being made for brands. The more people that you make a connection with, the more work you're going to have. The beautiful thing about our business is the work is very diverse. As a musical craftsperson who maybe nerds out on different genres and how certain people achieve certain sounds, you're going to have a lot of different challenges to solve. Okay. There's different genres, there's different quality of the music, right? From like very ambitious to like very simple, minimal tunes. Character varies every time. The challenge varies every time. It's wonderfully exciting and sometimes really frustrating, but it's rarely ever the same. Okay. And by working on these problems, you do become a master craftsperson with the way that you use your tools. Your skills sharpen, you learn how to make the music faster in a more focused way. You learn how to make it jump out of the speaker. All those things you can learn through advertising or through making music for ads. You control the controllables, right? So again, this is not lottery. We have certain things, actions that you want to take that are going to achieve a certain result. So you're controlling the outcomes. You get paid for each demo, even if the demo is not actually being used by the brand. Each demo becomes an asset for you because maybe it can be sold later. It adds another piece if it's an amazing demo to your reel or to your library, something that you can share with others. It builds your capabilities because again, every project teaches you maybe how to, do something new. Maybe you have to record a new instrument or a new way of recording vocals, whatever. You're keeping the lights on in the studio. You're paying the bills with the demo fees, and some pros even live off the demo fees. They might not even land a lot of finals, but they're still getting a significant amount of demo fees. Okay. And the most beautiful thing I think about this path also is that it's not a trend. We're not talking about a path that is, here today and gone tomorrow. Brands have always made content. They're going to continue to make content. They hold all the money, guys. They are the patrons of arts today. Okay. So that's where all the people, the creatives are going, the film directors, editors, musicians, because brands have the need and the budget to pay for it. And what they're looking for is really ambitious music. They come to craftspeople to create something amazing because they do need the track to fit the storyline like a glove and not just be like a generic track that does its own thing. Okay. So we're going to be smart as musicians. We're going to go where the money is. And I think that's pretty obvious. Have you guys seen any good questions that we could address?
There's quite a few. I've worked for small production
Yep.
companies, and every time they want to underpay and sign me and lock me down, I only want to stay freelance and make royalties. Can your course navigate me through these matters?
The quality of your projects is going to be determined by the quality of the people that you're working for. I'm actually curious to ask Stian or Matteo about this. And the reason why is because I'm not talking to music houses on an everyday basis.
Yeah,
I'm not their composer. I am the music house. So tell me.
I actually
Stian.
answered this question to a friend the other day. Actually, he said that, I told about making music for brands and how kind of it changed. I basically changed my life like 2.5 years ago. And I asked him if he knew about this kind of niche area of making music in the music industry. It's almost like a little bit hidden gem. And he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I've had some, some people who wants to kind of sign my songs and then pitch them and stuff, and then I would get I would make music for them, and they would actually pay me, even though it was not for a brief, but I could only work for them." And I was like, "Dude, don't work with them." There's so many music
Yeah.
production companies out there that would want to work with you as a composer freelance, that they would potentially want to be have the exclusive right to the song that you've provided them, but not for all your songs. Like if someone asks an exclusive right for you as a songwriter, they better be like Warner Music or Sony or like some huge stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one of the greatest things about like this world is probably that you're really free to, I mean, to manage things as you want, because everything is on the freelance side of things. So you work with people that you want to work with, and yeah, I mean, you get briefs, and and usually I think, like, usually the demo fee on the average is $250, but from my experience, it happened a lot of time that it was $500, just to
Hmm.
give an example.
Right.
And every time is different, but surely there's nobody's gonna lock you down or anything like that. And about royalties, it depends on case. Every time is different. It depends on the country that you're working with. Everything always is always different. But for example, I had a very good deal when I scored the Royal Canin sound logo, because I got 50% of the rights. So, and I wasn't expecting that, to be honest, because usually
Mm.
it's not always like that, but you get a lot of times buyouts, so they give you money and they buy the track, but it's not always like that as well. Like, it really depends. um Surely there's the demo fee process, which is always very good, and even the payoff in terms of money, it's always good. So royalties is real. You can get royalties out of your demos and finals, but it depends every time on the case, on the people that you're working with.
Right. Yeah. And I think these are fair points. And again, it's the quality of the people that you're working with. So just because it happens with
Yeah.
one person, don't think it is not the rule. And if anyone exploits you, you should get away from them, and yeah, and just seek out new relationships. Guys, now that we're speaking about money, let me go back to our journey, okay? And let me just talk about the money, and I'm going to address the questions that I was just reading in our next bus stop, let's say. So let's zoom in on the pay, and we're going to do this very quickly because it's it's very basic. 150 to 350 bucks, but sometimes 500 bucks. I mean, I should literally change that because it's
Yeah.
true. I mean, sometimes you can go up to 500,
Six,
but don't expect that. I
600
think
even.
Yeah.
really,
Yeah. In
damn.
Singapore,
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes the demo fee is 800 Singaporean dollars, and that's like
Yeah,
five, six.
this keeps going up, man.
No,
All
that
right,
that's
let's go
that's
a
Singaporean
thousand.
dollars. That's Singaporean dollars.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
in terms of
Let's
US
say
dollars, that's probably
600.
like 5, 6. Yeah.
But guys, let's average it out to 250 because
Yeah.
that's
250, 350.
literally like what they say is the industry standard.
Yeah.
So if you get
Yeah,
paid
yeah.
more, it's a
Yeah,
bonus,
yeah, that's
right?
true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then final fee, guys, anywhere, I mean, it could be anywhere from like free, which sometimes is fine. Like I've done stuff for free, which really, really skyrocketed my reel early on.
Hmm.
But okay, if we're speaking about, okay, now you're trying to get your rhythm and, you're not trying to build your reel from scratch. I would say anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000, and sometimes even beyond. When some people in our master class have been telling me how much they got paid, I was jealous. Actually, like, how did you? I don't remember ever getting paid that much as a composer, but it
I
does
would say that
happen.
the average on final fee that I get, I think I've won about somewhere between 10 and 20 final fees in the last 2 years, and
Yeah.
they average around 2 to 5 grand. I
2 to
would say
5 grand. All right.
that's the most normal.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
So
true.
there you go, guys. 2 to 5 grand, sometimes more, but yeah, I would say like calculate 2 to 5 grand. Sometimes there will be royalty and usage, especially if you're dealing with like Western Europe. Maybe sometimes in America, but rare because brands like to buy out the music very often.
That's right. Yeah.
I've had
And I would
some
see,
re-licensing in US. Oh, in Canada, actually, there was one Canada. I
yeah,
won one, and then a year later they went, "We're just gonna run the advert again,"
again,
and then I get paid again.
yeah, it's called usage. It's called reusage.
Yeah, that's
And
cool.
that's a beautiful thing because it's basically passive income. Like you don't have to do anything. They just run the campaign for longer. And if your music is a part of it, you get a check. It doesn't always happen. There's not always a control that you have over that. It really depends on the deal with your music house. But again, like you don't count on those things, and I'll show you that in a moment. And then there's something that I call pulls or license, which means that whatever connections that you have, sometimes they might say to you, look, I don't really have time or the budget to wait for a demo, and we can't be exploring, like spending money on crafting things from scratch. So tell me if you have anything like this in your library. And there's been I've had a lot of times, honestly, where like I got an email on Friday, sent music Friday afternoon from the archives, and make anywhere from like 500, I would say, to like $2,000 for a low budget social media, whatever. And then there are instances where a client that you might be doing a lot of custom music for comes to you, like in the case of Stian, and they might say, dude, I've seen your project, Firewood Island, on Instagram. We really want that. Like this track is crazy, and we're working on something and we want to license it. This happens.
Yeah.
Then you're talking about potentially like lottery money. I have not in my personal career have done a lot of licensing. Like I've worked maybe on 3 campaigns or 4 where we looked for music and we licensed some big name artists. The biggest one that I was a part of was a no-name artist, absolutely no-name artist. It just so happened that the song worked for this campaign. And it was a Unilever brand, I believe, one of those. And they paid 150 grand for this track, which to me was just like, what?
That's
Um,
insane.
completely unknown artist, like literally like nobody. Not nobody, you know what I mean. Nobody that you would know. But that's what happens. So there's no rhyme or reason here, and I want to stress that this is not what we count on. Okay, so I actually created this "Let's Make It Real" scenario because I think this is closer to reality. Okay, for people who have the talent, tenacity, and the chance to make this work. Assuming that you know 30 people who will send you 3 projects a year. Okay, you're gonna create that's 90 demos, right? 3 times 30. You're gonna get paid 250 per demo. That's 2250 in demo fees. Okay. The industry standard, and I don't know if it's a standard, but that's what we talk about. Like the pros in our business, 1 out of 10 demos goes final. So you can see it's not like that's what you count on. 1 out of your 10 submissions will go final. So then if we take an average of $3,000 as an average final, multiply by 9, that's 27 grand. We're at 49,500. The only thing we have to remove is the demo fees where your track went final, because if your track goes final, you don't get the demo fee. So we're going to subtract 2,250. So you end up with 47,250. Maybe, I don't know. This is like, you have zero like knowledge or prediction of where your royalties or reusage could go. But let's say you make a very humble estimate or 5 grand based on these 9 demos. Like I would say, yeah, that's pretty conservative. You're talking about making around 50 grand as a successful, I would say a successful, um, not even like full time composer in our industry. Because there are people in our industry that I know make multiple of this, a multiple. They're doing nothing but ads all day, all night, weekends, and they're making like multiple 6 figures. And they have a lot of music out there in the world, right? Copyrights are coming in, all sorts of stuff is happening. But I think that's a realistic number for anyone who does have really amazing talent. They're willing to do the work of fostering a lot of relationships and connections. But also you have to keep in mind that this path is concrete, simple, but it's not necessarily easy. And so I think a lot of musicians are also not going to get close to this number. And they should not expect to in the first year. Maybe you need to give yourself 2, 3 years, 4 years, because a lot of you, and I saw those questions in the chat, you need to brush up your skills first. And actually, a lot of people who send us homework, they join knowing that they're probably not good enough to like get started right away in our business, but they get the benefit, which is completely priceless and valuable, of having us listen to your demo and go, look, this sound, you got to get rid of that. You got to update your sound libraries. That's not a good violin sample. Look, this progression, it's not satisfying enough. You need to learn how to evolve your compositions in very short time frames. Here's one thing you should try, blah, 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 blah. And Matteo is very directly involved in that as someone who's actually looking at homework every week. And you always telling me, Matteo, this guy sent in homework. I thought it was going to be hopeless, but he never gave up. And 6 months later, you won't believe what he's sending me. Right, Matteo? Like you've had cases like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I know what it means to be in that stage because, of course, we always been through that. So I try to give you my best feedback, and we stay in touch. Of course, we stay in touch. You send me stuff, and like we send you video feedback because it's just not about like some key points. It's more about building a connection even in that way because the way you say things and stuff. So it's really important, but it's about like, and I mean, when you talk to somebody that is doing that or has been through that, the cool thing is that you have tips and tricks and shortcuts, and very quickly you can really upgrade everything that you need to know depending on the
Yeah,
genre. And yeah,
exactly.
a lot of case studies in that sense. And but first of all, it needs that the person involved needs to be very willing to say okay, because sometimes it happens that, I mean, I'm never rude with anybody, absolutely not, but I have to give you my best feedback. Like if I think that sound is not good, I have to tell you, because otherwise if I tell you that is good, then you go out there and you just don't have any replies, then what's the point? So the best thing is that I give you my best feedback and we stay in touch and we try to make things better together.
Yeah.
So
And it's
yeah,
not
because
love, guys. It's not love to take it easy on you. Any of you who have
yeah,
kids,
absolutely.
you know that if you're not like truthful, or like with your friends, right? Whoever has close relationships.
And at the end of the day, always remember that it's not about I would say not for the 80% of the final result is not about the technical side of things. It's about like the impact of things. So when I say feedback, it's not because I'm picky and I'm there. It's, oh, this is not good. It's about the impact.
Yeah.
So, and if you're needing to, like, if you know that you have to upgrade your skills, don't really focus too much on the technical side of things. I mean, it's in a way, yeah, you have to, but it's more about trying to understand, like, emotionally what you have to translate into music when you see visuals. Because many times it happens that I have a lot of students like sending me stuff, and you can tell they're very, very good. Like they produce stuff in a way that it's just unbelievable, but they don't get the right feeling
Right.
of the spot. Like it's just flat, you know. So in a way, what at that point, what's the point? Like you're very good at producing, but if you don't get, so it's no brainer. Like you don't have to worry if you're not at that level. It's a journey that we spend together, and we try to, you know, to
And it
upgrade
is a
everything.
journey, guys, and you have to be patient. If you care about this, you're going to be patient. Magic
But
doesn't happen overnight, right?
and while we're on this subject, there were two questions, basically almost the
Sure.
same question. Someone said that they're mainly a rock producer, and someone said that they're like doing, I think it's like bebop music. Is it good to be more varied, or is it okay to go in with like only being good at one genre? And personally, I would say for me, I love doing any type of genre. And for me, it's basically do the research. If you get a brief that's in like singer songwriter, listen to a lot of singer songwriter music and try to do it. Um, but yeah, of course, you want to have a superpower. You want to have the thing that you are good at, so that the music production houses will, oh, there's a rock track that we need. Okay, we're going to go to this person because we know that this person is really good at rock or bebop. Whereas often, like, there's a guy in the music industry, like making music for brands industry, that we always talk about, Naran. He's like, good. He's a multi-talented musician. He knows many genres. Guitar is his main instrument, but he obviously gets briefs in every single genre, and people would just go to him because he's just good at everything. So yes, if you're varied and you're good at the various genres, then you will get more briefs. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And people do make, you have to understand that the people hiring you, they understand that a musician can do multiple genres as well. Because a lot of people you're going to be working for are musicians. They're not going to put you in a box. They're not going
Yeah.
to say stupid things like, oh no, there's no way that you could do classical and electronic. They are, a lot of these people are very creative that will hire you.
Yeah.
So they just judge you based on like what they see you doing. And
And
when
most
you're
of the
moving,
time,
yeah,
most of the time when you get a brief from a music production house, the person who actually sends you that brief might potentially do a demo for the brief as well.
yeah,
And their
Yeah,
demo
yeah.
might be going along with yours, to the client.
yeah,
If you are good at rock music, the only thing I would worry about is to have that is to have your music sounding like in that genre, but it has to be modern as well. Because of course, like rock music nowadays, it sounds different compared to, I don't know, 20 years ago or 10 years ago. So it's always a matter of being up to date in terms of how that genre is sounding nowadays, because most of the time that's the trick. Like maybe they ask for something, oh, we love this track from the 70s, but it would be nice to have like some more modern approach to that. So
Mhm.
this is something, because I'm a rock kind of guy as well, so I always try to be up to date and see how things are sounding in that genre nowadays, because of course brands want to be, they want to be
up to
cool, and
date.
they want to be not old, but they want to be, yeah, up to date. So
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
that's a good advice to say.
And I would also
Uh,
want to say that if you're the rock person, then learn every style of rock, because then you can
Yeah,
go to you for like rock pop. You can go to you for their alternative hard rock, or even like grunge, or be that person who knows everything within the rock genre.
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I agree.
This is all good advice. And just looking at some questions, Alan Cook asked, ambitious music, what do you mean? By ambitious music, I mean things that sound like they were a song from an artist, things like sound like they were a score from some very remarkable composer, things that sound like sound design from someone who obviously like these are crafty things. That's what I mean by ambitious. Ambitious is not like kind of a static loop of predictable guitar patterns with some drums. And ambitious to me means like, whoa, what is that track? That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, because everything else is available in music libraries. That's the whole point. And if you really want to solidify your place and actually, you know, make a good living doing this, you're gonna have to learn how to deliver the things that doesn't sound easy to make. And that's what I mean by ambitious. They may be easy to make for you. That's the funny thing, is like some people with a falsetto voice, that's all they got. And like they got millions of fans. And it's like, you know, you wonder, how do they get that? But for them, it's nothing. It's just the way they sound. So if you can tap into that, that's beautiful, because then you're literally, you know, making a difference in the creative process with something that has a signature, a character, which is not easily found. And on top of that, you're custom tailoring it to the needs of the script, which is the real value. The real value for a film director, for an editor, obviously for a client and the ad agency.
Yeah, if they had,
Okay, let me dive back.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Tell me.
I just wanted to add, like, if you can sing and you get a brief and it doesn't necessarily say that they need vocals, I would recommend just even adding on some ooze in the background, because it just makes it human. And sometimes if it's a union job, they might have to buy out your vocals for $4,000. That's happened to me. That's the weirdest thing.
Those are good tips and tricks, by the way.
Yeah, the win fee was $4,000, and then they had to buy out my vocals for an extra $4,000. So that was fun.
And everyone can ooh and ah, guys. Layer it. That's the other tip. Like layer it. You know, do a couple of harmonies. You don't have to learn how to sing, but those are good tips. Okay, let's dive back in here, because I have a feeling I really underestimated the amount of time that it's going to take to go through this. I actually don't want to spend that much on the process and the people, because I've talked about this a lot, and it's on our free training. Like if you go to Making Music for Brands, it's there, right? So I'm just going to blaze through this. Where the money is, where the budget begins, is the brand, always. Okay. Again, they're not in the business of manufacturing things. They're in the business of creating feelings and memories. Okay. That's what they're actually doing. They don't actually do anything, the brands. They have to hire the agency to come up with the idea of how the brand is going to present themselves to the world, and like what the strategy is, how they will position themselves. What are they going to be? Are we going to be red? Are we going to be blue? Are we going to be rebellious? Or are we going to be revolutionary? Are we going to be smart, sophisticated smart? Are we going to be smart, like academic smart? Or those are all the things that big brands hire agencies, big agencies like JWT, BBD, ODDB to do. Okay. And basically these agencies go, okay, Nike, we're going to present you as rebels, and our entire thing is going to be our rebels. And the campaigns are going to be rebellious, and it's always going to be about fighting against the man. That's agency one. And agency two will go, no, we're going to position you as the underdog. You're the underdog, and it's all about the underdog and the underdog becoming the champion. So all these agencies will have this idea that governs all the campaigns and the creative that then the brand is going to do. But the agencies themselves, they don't actually create these campaigns. Okay. You have a group creative director who might be in charge of Nike. Then there's creative directors who will have under them a copywriter, an art director, and these guys just jam all day on ideas. Like, what is going to be the thing for Adidas this year, or whatever it is, right? But when they come up with the campaign and the brand goes, oh, we like agency one and their idea of underdogs, we really love it. Then the agency goes, okay, so we have the underdog idea. Now we got to spend a whole year telling that underdog story. So the agency will then move on and select. They will personally select for each campaign, not for the whole year, but every single whatever campaign that they do, every single piece of content that they will do. They might actually work with different film production company on it. They might work with a different editing company, different visual effects company, different coloring company. Music companies, music houses are a part of this. Okay, we're the last piece in the chain when the music is done. And sometimes even after the music is done, especially in the US, the entire campaign goes to a post studio where they do the voiceover recording and broadcast mix. Different places work differently. But essentially, what I'm trying to convey to you is that the music house is going to be a production company that you, as a freelance musician, are going to target. That's your primary target. There's other targets that you can do, right? But like where the film production company will hire a freelance film director, an editing company will probably have an in-house director. Maybe they'll hire a freelance editor. Visual effects company will have in-house animation. A coloring place will have an in-house colorist. But a music house, 95% of the music company talent is usually freelance, because we cannot afford to staff a composer for every kind of sound, every kind of genre, every kind of creative possibility. Well, they used to do that actually. 30 years ago, every music house had like 7 composers or whatever. But now things have changed, and literally the music house is commissioning you guys from around the world a right composer for the right brief. Okay. So basically, what you want to target is music producers. These are people responsible for the sound and music portion of the campaign, and they will be a part of a music company that we call a music house. You don't have to worry as much about a post studio unless you're an engineer. There's jobs to be had there. Okay. If you're an engineer, this is a full-time job at a post studio where you'll
Can I quickly
be
add
preparing.
something to this?
Yeah, do it.
So like when you say a music producer, you don't necessarily mean someone who like produces artists for a living. This is like
Right.
this is a title in the music production house that make music bespoke for brands, and the music producer is often the person who's in charge of connecting people, connecting the other company together to the freelance composers. You know, he's the
Yeah, it's a good
overseer of
point
a
you
project.
make, is that music producer in the music business is someone who actually, like Rick Rubin, or like maybe a beat maker, or someone who is actually sitting with the artist, producing the artist. But in our business, a music producer is a music producer for the campaign, meaning that they have to figure out what the music will be, but they're not necessarily the ones making the music. So my job is to like talk to the client and go, okay, so you want to do the underdog thing. Okay. And what are we looking for? Okay. You don't know yet, or, maybe punk tracks or something underground, something to like show the underdog or whatever. Okay. And then I'm like, okay, who do I know that does punk? Or who do I know that does crazy vintage rock and roll? Or maybe we juxtapose it differently. Maybe the underdog is like expressed through not a very obvious way, not an energetic soundtrack, but maybe a very beautiful ballad or something like this. So anyway, the producer, a person like me, has to figure that out. And then I have to think about, okay, who am I going to get to come up with musical options? I'll get Stian, I'll get Matteo. Okay. But then if I get Stian and Matteo, I need someone else now. Because I know, like, if I ask Stian for 2 demos, I can brief him on 2 different directions because I know his range. Matteo, I know his range. I can ask him for 2 demos, but I need to show 7 demos to the client. So I need maybe 2 more people, and like in a completely different ballpark, so that we can show a very vast variety. And sometimes it goes that way, and sometimes it will go in a way where I'm like, Stian, I don't have a big budget. Can you do like 3 demos for me and you'll be guaranteed to get the final? Very often we do like little things like this because we have to basically solve the pieces of the puzzle. And the piece of the puzzle is like, I need to, the client will say, I need 5 demos. Okay. But I only have a budget of this. And then you're like, okay, well, that's pretty shitty. But then again, Stian could be like, oh yeah, dude, I'll do this in a couple of days. What's the final? And as long as he likes what the final fee is, and he's guaranteed to get the final, might be like, yeah, no worries. I do 3 demos, 60 seconds each. It'll take me, let's say, a day and a half, maybe 2 days. If it's a 3 grand final, I'm okay with that. But yeah, good point about producers being different as a role. But that's your target, guys, as freelance musicians. Your primary focus is to make friends with what we call music producers at music houses. Sometimes they're called music directors. but they are the direct source of projects. They're the ones who make a decision which musician they're going to hire. Okay.
Or executive producer.
Sometimes executive producer. Yep. And we're going to talk about that next, which is like you have to get to know this field. Your secondary focus also, as you build your network, could be smaller local brands. Because sometimes you'd be surprised. They might have a couple of grand for you to write a track for their Instagram. You'd be surprised, get to know film directors, because sometimes they do have clout and they do have decision power as to which composer they want to work with for a brand campaign or whatever they're working on. Get to know editors. Editors might not be direct source of your jobs, but like, guys, anyone you get to know in the chain could be a potential reference point for you. Like, I don't remember how many times I've had burritos with editors in Toronto, and I'm like, what are you working on right now? Oh, I'm working on this. With who? Oh, with Jimmy. Oh, Jimmy, shit, that's right. Okay, yeah. Actually, yeah, tell him I said hello. Yeah, no, what, and that's how it works, right? It's a completely different thing from you knocking on Jimmy's door as a stranger. If, like an editor, you have an editor in common, they can introduce you. It's a beautiful thing. So, anyway, that's the way that it works. I think I go a little bit more deep on it in our free training. So let me move on to the next thing, which is how do you prepare yourself? And again, I'm going to breeze through it pretty quickly, but there are 3 principles. Okay. You got to understand the business and the people. I kind of explained that to you just now, but I'll dig into that a little bit. I'm going to tell you a few good tips on how to showcase your superpowers, how to showcase, like how to present yourself to the industry. And then we're going to look at a very practical thing that we have our masterclass students do to kickstart your network. But some of the rookie mistakes that I see is that people reach out to the business as soon as they learn about this business from us. They start emailing people. Don't do that. Okay. You're going to sabotage yourself very quickly. You only have a chance at a good first impression once, because music producers are very selective in our business. We're very quick to make kind of a judgment call on whatever email that we get and the kind of person that's sending that email. Unfortunately, it's harsh, I know, but like, we don't really have time to mold people or to educate them about our business. We're chasing deadlines. And so, you really have to know how to present yourself properly to the business, because especially the very busy music producers, they ignore almost all their emails that don't relate to the project that they're working on, because that's how big the pressure is and that's how crazy the deadline is very often. So don't be surprised like you don't hear back from people. That's just the way it is. You're going to maximize your chances of communicating properly with people and getting replies if you actually really, really get to know the spirit of the business. Like, it's like basically learning about your favorite subject. Okay. Like maybe there's a place that you love somewhere in the world and you know everything about it. Maybe you weren't there ever, but you could speak about it with an expert because you read everything there's to know about it. I think that's the kind of research you have to do about our business. Luckily, it's not like rocket science. Okay. It's not like years of learning, but like, I'm surprised that a lot of musicians don't even do like a few days of learning or kind of getting a good feel and instinct for the business. So I think if you do this, it's really going to make your communication stand out because you're going to know instinctively how to prepare for communication and contact with someone. Go to adsoftheworld.com and just watch a crap load of different ads that are happening in different parts of the world. It's going to give you a real good feel for the kind of music that's happening, the visual style, like what's happening. Also, I think a lot of times you see credits. Okay. You see the people that have worked on these spots. So you start to get a sense of who's doing what. Go to industry award sites, go to Cannes Lions, go to Clio's, go to London International Awards, type in advertising industry awards, just see if they have a website and go to see the winners. That'll give you a real good idea for the benchmark of the quality that's required right now. Study the sites of ad agencies. Go to the Saatchi website, Leo Burnett, Havas, Droga 5, Anomaly, Wyden and Kennedy, the main agency for Nike. There is like 1,000 more agencies, okay? 1,000. This is a huge, huge industry. Study their websites, see what the fonts are, see how they present themselves, see what they're talking about. This is all a part of the lingo that you have to internalize so that when you connect with people, they're like, oh, this person knows what's up. Because a lot of you musicians emailing, you're like this frantic, crazy person that just discovered our world, and you show up and you're like, yeah, I'd love to make music for you. And I'm like, it's kind of unfortunate that we don't respond to this kind of like language or passion even. You know, we're working on a different level, and we're working in a completely different environment than what musicians realize. So study the sites of film production companies. Just a few: Stink, Bacon, Iconoclast. These are very, very world-class film production companies in our business that do a lot of ads. Not just ads; they do videos for artists, for major artists. Sometimes they work on films, sometimes they work on TV series. Study their sites. And of course, study the sites of music houses. You can go to our website, tommyz.co. There's various music houses around the world. We give our students a directory. There's a lot of them. Okay. Study them. Study them. You can take a screenshot of this and use it as a starting point. And most importantly, I want you to like start, trying to replicate what you're seeing on these websites as far as music, as far as practicing to the spots. Don't learn in an abstract way, learn in a concrete way. Bake the cake, fail, screw up the batter, bake it too long, over salt it, over sugar it. That's how you learn, people. You don't learn in isolation by reading about music theory. Forget music theory. Make me feel. Like write a song and make me feel. Okay? And figure out while you're doing that, okay, how do I make someone feel? What are the chord progressions? What are the scales? What are the, what are people using? And you have to nerd out on the craft, guys, really. Okay, because like writing music for picture is different than just writing a song for yourself or whatever, or for your EP. So you have to really nerd out on it. And the best way to do that is just observe what the pros are doing and try to mimic them. Try to copy them, okay? Understand the people that you're about to contact, the industry insiders. Watch what they're talking about, observe what they're talking about, study what they're doing, their work, okay? So that when you connect with them, it's not going to be like 99% of the emails that we see from musicians, which are sloppy emails, spelling errors, formatting errors, sappy stories, like ebooks. I'm reading ebooks. And, I try to take pity on some people because I remember when I was getting started and like nobody would reply to me. But the functional, practical reality is it's not personal, guys. I might have some room in my day to read your email, but a guy like Mark Domitrick or some of these hot shot music producers at these big music houses, they're literally working on like 12, 13 campaigns at any given time. I know this because I used to be a creative director at Massive Music, one of the biggest music houses in the world. At some points, we had 15 campaigns per producer. It's ridiculous. So don't be surprised. But a well-targeted email, crisp, compelling, clear, that shows me you understand who I am and what I'm doing. We mark those. We highlight those, especially if the reel is good. We're going to talk about that next, guys. Okay. So did we just do this? No, we didn't do this. Okay. We did this one. So now let's talk about how you showcase your superpowers. Again, we give this advice in free training. We go more in depth in the academy. I mean, guys, it's like 9:30 already over here. I thought this was going to be an hour. Let's move through this quickly, guys. This is tangible piece of advice, okay? One piece of music is what you want to focus the attention on when people go to your website. That's it. So that's why I say make it a reel, make it composed of different things, make it short so people see they don't have to sit there for 3 minutes. Make it diverse, make it impactful. You only have seconds. You only have seconds to make an impact. So make an impact in seconds, okay? The response when I hear anything has to be, okay, I can totally see this in a car commercial. This is me, the music producer talking, who hires freelance musicians. I can totally see this piece of music in something that I'm doing, right? That's the kind of quality of music that I need to hear, right? And you're going to get a sense of it if you do the research. Audio only is what all of us composers started with. So like whoever is successful today, we have video reels, we have all sorts of campaigns. That's fine. But when we were getting started, we didn't have them. All we had is audio. Okay. And I believe that a lot of you who have musical talent, that's enough for you to get your first gig. And if it's not, what you can do is literally download spots that resonate with you, write music to them, and then show through a private link that showcase and be very transparent and say, look, I'm just getting into business, but I've been making music for a while and I think I'm making magic. That's very confident. It's very clear. And then I'm going to be like, okay, hotshot, you think you're making magic? Let me see. And then if you actually show me practical examples of spots with your music that sound great, that evolve, that, do all the things that the pros do, I'd be like, okay, I don't care if they're practicing, if they just got into business, they don't have any real spots. Their talent is, their skill set is good. The website, guys, we're going to need the website to be simple and fast loading. Simple but not plain, simple but not shallow. It needs to have a bit of spark. It needs to have a bit of magic, okay? The reason why we teach our students to build the websites the way we teach them to build the websites is because it needs to be functional. You need to be intentional about how you direct someone's attention and how you guide their action. That's why we talk about directing them to a big play button. Because, when we're going through stuff and we're clicking almost subconsciously, if I'm like presented with 10 choices, that's when I close down the tab and move on because this is not a priority. But if I see one simple link, one simple play button, I'm very likely to click on it. And if magic is coming out of it, it's a beautiful thing. You're making an instant impression on me. A lot of you musicians show me like a picture of a violin or a mixing board or something, or a monitor speaker. I'm not going to be hiring a monitor speaker. I'm not hiring a violin. I'm not hiring a piece of gear. I'm hiring a soul, a crafty human. So I need to see you in your environment. And actually, I don't think that, I can share this tab instead. Can you guys see this? Stian, can you see your own site?
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah. So I know Stian hasn't updated this in a while, and maybe he's too busy. He doesn't need to do it. But the reason why I'm glad he hasn't updated his site in a while is because this is exactly the site that he used to get his first gigs. So what do you see here? Literally, like, it's simple, but not plain. Do you get the personality across? Yes, because I see him already. I'm like, oh, he's singing. So that's interesting. I wonder what he sounds like. And then we have click to listen. I'm not going to play the reel right now, but I think you guys should go to Stian's website and listen to this. Because if this reel, which is not video, it's audio only, was good enough to get him his gigs, then obviously he's doing something right. And you can see his, like now, if you scroll down, you see that he's done music for Subaru. He's done music for Publix, McDonald's, Toyota, the White House. I mean, that's pretty crazy, man. That's one of your first gigs was scoring for the White House. Pretty insane. But this is what I'm talking about. Simple. It directs my attention. Click to listen. I click to listen, and instantly the impression is made. So take time to figure out how you're going to tell your story. Stian did it with some cool videos. I think that's very, very effective. But it can be a picture. I think if we go to, for instance, Matteo's website, you get something like this, and then knock, knock. And we go in here, and I show Matteo's site second because now he's got work. He's got real work on here. But when you first started, you only had a play button, I remember, and your site looked different, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but you can see it's still very simple. It's right to the point, right? And so most of you don't have work. So I'm showing you, this is how you want to go, right? That's how easy and simple, but not shallow. Your name, some kind of a phrase that's going to intrigue me, some kind of delightful picture or film, and big play button. And what's more important than any of that is obviously the music. 60 seconds of magic, no dull moments. Some of you keep certain sections running for too long. Like, I get it. Okay, I get it. I get the groove, but like, I want to see how you evolve things, how you twist things, right? Brief paragraph, maybe interesting, intriguing, but not like a Hallmark card. Okay, not sappy, not sentimental. And then you can have more music. If people enjoyed the reel, they're going to listen to that. Um, okay. And then the final piece of advice that I would have for you guys is you want to find a place where you're going to actually start building a list of people you're going to reach out to. Okay. It could be like a Google Sheet. It could be HubSpot. It could be different kinds of CRMs that are available online. But the most important thing and the most impactful thing is you want to declare your commitment to actually being a commissioned composer to your friends and family, okay? Because they're the ones who are going to kickstart your network. So we're all a few people away from our heroes or like even industry pros. The best way to make a connection, bar none, is to be referred, is to be introduced, right? You have no idea who your circles are in contact with. Okay. So it's not until you declare and you let them know what you're up to in some kind of an email or a love letter where you say, guys, I'm very passionate about this next stage, this next chapter of my life. This is my focus. This is what I want to do. And you know that I'm in love with music, blah, blah, blah. Like, these people know you already, right? So you don't have to say all of that, but just ask them, do you know anyone in this field? Do you know anyone in the field of advertising, branding, or anyone who, works in the media, anyone who creates audiovisual content? And I think that's one of the best ways. This is what I did 17 years ago to kickstart your content, because you literally, people come out of the woodwork and they're like, oh yeah, I know a creative director at an agency. I'll set up a coffee, right? And that's how you get started.
I have a really nice one on this. So, as with my band Firewood Island, we work with a sync agent, really cool guy, and I just messaged him and said, like, hey, I've started writing bespoke music. I haven't done much of it, but you've heard my music already, what I can do for Firewood Island. Do you have some people that I would recommend getting in touch with? And he was like, what if I help you get in touch with loads of different music production houses, and your first 10 jobs that you win, I get a little percentage? And I was like, if you make me like mates in the industry, of course I'm going to give you a percentage. And that it does help. That like kickstarted me like quite a lot.
Yeah. The reason why you're going to get your first project, and we're just going to blaze through this and then we're going to answer questions, it's because you're going to have a daily routine of reaching out to the right people. It's not going to be by accident. It's not going to be sometimes. You're going to have a daily routine of reaching out to the people the right way. And the preparation that you did with your research is going to go a long way, because it's going to be actually easier, because you're going to get the knack for it, the instinct. This, you're going to realize, is a marathon. You're not going to rush anything. It might take you years. That's fine, because you're working on a very fundamental and big thing. But this is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon, okay? Steady is always going to win over storming. The magic formula, which I always say, is 3, 15, 60, 7, 20, which means that if you email 3 people a day, that's 15 people a week, 60 a month, 720 a year. When you contact 720 people a year, something must happen, but you don't think about the 720 because that's overwhelming. You're going to be discouraged and give up. All you think about is 3, okay? After you brush your teeth in the morning, you send 3 emails. That's it. As long as you're real, your site and your email is crisp, clear, and compelling, like we've been talking about, you're going to start getting on people's radars, okay? You're going to make your reel and your email short and irresistible, so people will want to connect with you at some point, maybe not the first email. You're not going to be selling them. You're not going to be kissing ass. You're not going to be sending them ebooks, okay? You're going to have a real knack for communicating with them in a very brief way, sharing one link. If you've done your research and you understand who you're calling or who you're emailing, it's going to be like a sniper shot, right? You're aiming to kill. That's what you're doing. Not literally, figuratively. And of course, you're not going to hear back from 95% of the people that you write. That's normal. You should expect that. So you're going to practice the art of the follow-up, not once, not twice, not 3 times. Matteo can tell us a story of how he won some of his jobs on the 5th email, right? So it really takes polite and persistent follow-up. It shows that you're committed to making the connection. And when someone gives you your first chance for a meeting or for a project, you want to give them a reason to want to talk to you again, okay? Or to give you another shot at another gig. That's all it is, right? You're trying to get that first shot, either to have a conversation. And if the goal is conversation, your only goal is not to sell, but to have another conversation. That's all. Like, be just friendly and cool and like someone inspiring that they'd want to talk to, or introduce you to someone else, okay? Or if you get a gig, whatever it takes, you want to stay up and deliver magic, because that's the shot, that's the opportunity. It could literally mean years worth of gigs down the line from the same person, okay? First 2 gigs might be free, but after that, if you're doing good work, you should get a demo fee, or you need to stop and find someone else, okay? So when you're outreaching to people, your aim is to get a Skyppuccino. That's what I call a coffee over Zoom or Skype, okay? But what then? What happens, okay? A lot of you get kind of paralyzed or nervous because it's like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what to say during this call. Don't worry about getting a project. Don't focus on the project. It's not sales. Focus on the person. Imagine you're having a coffee with a friend. That's what it's all about, okay? You're going to ask them, where are you from? How did you get into this thing? What are you working on right now? What do you find the most frustrating thing in this business? What kind of things do you wish you had that you don't from the people that you work with? These are good questions, man. And they show you like, okay, is there anything do I hear in those answers that I can actually address or contribute? If you're nervous, don't be nervous, because you should be asking questions and listening. Honestly, like, maybe you don't need to do a lot of the talking. Let them do the talking. And when you speak, anytime you speak, you should speak to their context, okay? Don't talk about yourself too much. Like, you're really there to address and answer their problems. So whatever you say should speak to that, okay? Without being salesy or like kiss assy, okay? Really, the main thing that I want to get from people that I talk to is like, Stian is a cool guy to talk to. I enjoy talking to him. He's a good guy. He's talented. You know, his friend who I hired way back in the day, who's now famous. I don't even know if I should say his name. I'll say Ali Lacey. Okay. But anyway, nice guy, kind guy, talented guy. That's all I want. And a lot of you guys are nice people, talented people. You don't need to make yourself into some kind of superstars, right? So don't be nervous. We just want someone reliable and nice who we can count on to deliver magic. And besides, it's not going to be you selling yourself with words. If I looked at your website and I clicked your reel and I decided to have a Skyppuccino with you, it means that your music is intriguing me, that whatever you showcase to me is intriguing me. No one is going to have a Skyppuccino with you unless they check out your site first. I just don't see it. Maybe some people will, but I don't. Okay. So know that music and your work probably did a lot of the selling for you already. So what happens if someone goes, loved your music, loved our conversation, if we even had one? What happens when you get the opportunity? You have to honestly do whatever you can do to turn around magic, okay? You might be nervous, but slow down and ask questions. If you're unclear about the brief or what they're asking you to do, I want you to ask them clearly. Nobody gets upset when people ask questions. We like when we get good questions, okay? So ask questions. And we actually have a list in the masterclass of questions you should ask. It's a long list. I don't want to get into it here. Understand that the demo or the music is just a part of you as a whole package. The way you write emails, the way you deliver the files, the way you send the files, like all of that, the way you deliver before the deadline and not a few minutes after, that's all a part of your brand and what will shape our opinion of you, Okay, it's all important. Don't take on any brief that you cannot handle or that you don't think you're going to knock out of the park. Okay, just like if you know you're going to be away, for instance, and you cannot do the thing, just say, look, I'm busy right now. Don't give stories. Just say, really swamped right now. Leave it open to interpretation. They're going to go, oh, he's really swamped, must be busy. Okay. But don't take on anything that you can't, turn into magic. Okay. And when you get the opportunity to deliver something to anyone, give them more than they expected. Okay. I don't care what they asked you for, deliver on what they asked you for, but show them like way more value than they were expecting. Because remember, it's not about this or that project. It's not about this or that song. It's not about this or that budget. Okay. It's about deepening the relationship. That's what it's about. Okay. So that's the real value that you're giving them, is you're showing them how you're solving the problem. And that's going to last way longer and going to go a lot further than you like bickering over what they asked for and how much should you work on it. Work all night if you have to make a real impact in that relationship right at the outset. Okay. And I can tell you from personal experience that a good relationship, or let's say 3 people in your life in the industry, will single-handedly carry you, and it'll make a difference in your journey. It'll kickstart, it will sustain your career, whatever. It's always a few people. Okay. And then, yeah, let's have Stian and Matteo maybe talk about their first time, like how they got their first gig. What did that look like? What were their feelings? What were their emotions? Like, what was the nature of that gig?
It's the classic, you get in touch with some new music house and you've sent, 30, 40 emails and you feel like, the world is going under because no one's getting back to you. A friend of mine said the other day, oh, I've been did this music course for Tommy C, and then now I've been emailing and no one's coming back to me and I feel like it was a waste of money. And I was like, how many people have you emailed? Yeah, like 30 people. And I was like, get back to me when you've emailed 300. and then yeah, so I think I emailed like 80 people before I actually heard back. And then suddenly I got, one Zoom meeting with someone. I think it was Duotone. They're great. And then, yeah, I think I did the first demo for free. And then I didn't land it. But like you said, like deliver, as good as you can. So like they wanted vocals on and they said, we don't know if we want female or male vocals, either is fine. So then I delivered both. I sang in it, got my wife who also sings, sang on it, and I delivered 2 demos. So the same demo with man and female vocals. And then I didn't win it. That was my first one. It was for the New York lottery.
And tell me about also, like, because I remember talking to you recently and about how like nervous you felt
Yeah.
about the
Yeah,
first gig,
especially
right? Like,
the first gig, especially because you're like, this is New York Lottery is a huge company. Do they want my music? And I remember it was like ukulele track. It was like a ukulele track with, and it needed to have like, I think it was like a 30s vibe.
yeah,
And I'm just like, I barely play ukulele. Like I'm a singer-songwriter. I can play guitar and piano and sing, but so I had a little ukulele, like Stag ukulele, dirt cheap one. I just like recorded on it and they were like, yes, this sounds great. And I think I came second in that brief. Like it was me and another person in the end battling it out. And then the other person won because it fit better. But yeah, I was so nervous. And now it's like I get a brief for Coca-Cola or like some big brand, and you're just like, they are just people and they just want good music.
right.
And that's kind of it,
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that some people were saying how, or one person at least I saw saying how this went way over 1 hour. I apologize, but every conversation with Tommy Z is going to go over 1 hour. Anyone who knows me well knows that happens. But I hope it was valuable, guys. And if for those who like have to leave or whatever. And we didn't talk about the Black Friday. Essentially, what we're doing, guys, and I'm just gonna tell you very quickly, we're giving you. I calculated it to be our retail price right now on the masterclass is I think it's $3,500. We rarely ever sell it for that. Not that I don't think it's worth it, because obviously you're getting lifetime of our feedback, and I think that alone is worth a lot. But essentially, we normally have the price at around 2K as a promo price, and for Black Friday, 57% off of the retail price, which is 3,500. That's $500 off of the lifetime access to our academy. So essentially, you're paying $1,500. So if you want to take advantage of it, it's essentially makingmusicforbrands.com Black-Friday-2023. But that's all it is, guys. And for any of you who have joined the masterclass a while back, you will realize that the price kept climbing upwards and upwards and upwards. And we actually used to sell it for a lot less, but then some people in our masterclass said, I've been a part of other master classes and this thing is worth at least $2,000 because you're actually showing people how to make a living. It's not about mixing or mastering, or like you're showing people a path to make a living. So I actually think the price is not even of consequence, because whoever goes in and does the steps and they have the talent, the tenacity, you're not even going to remember what you paid for it. If you end up working like Matteo or Stian, and Stian quitting his day job, now he's doing this full time. It's a real game changer if you're the kind of person who has the talent, has the tenacity. You're going to follow the steps. I don't think price is what you should be worried about. And again, I don't think anybody is recording videos with feedback 6 months after you have joined this thing without asking you for payment. So, so it's a different thing we're offering as value here. So I just wanted to mention that. And also now Matteo and Stian, we're talking about building a craft course, having Matteo and Stian as mentors available to you guys, so that whoever wants to level up their craft, you're going to have people who are actually working every day on these spots, helping you with very concrete tips on how to level up your craft. So that's the offer.
Just a quick one. Like, I studied music production and music, music production and engineering at university, and it was like, it was in £9,000 a year or something like that. I have a massive debt basically for doing my university course. I did 4 years and it was really expensive, and because it's Norwegian, I actually have to pay it back. In the UK, you don't actually have to pay back your university loan if you're cheeky. And I would say, like, for me, this course I got in quite early while it was still quite affordable. I still think it's affordable and definitely worth the money, but I was a bit lucky, got in early. And for me, it's just like buying this masterclass compared to doing the university. Like, I wish someone taught me this in university. They totally should. Because like what I actually got taught in university was like how to make music sound good, but not in a Goosebumps way, but in a production way. But they don't teach you anything about the real life, how to actually make music from your money from your music or anything like that.
Yeah. And here you get both, which is we show you real case studies, you get to do them, we review them.
Yeah.
It's really the goal is not to teach you more stuff. The goal is really to prepare you to get your first projects and become a viable craftsperson. But I appreciate you saying this, Stian. I'm not paying Stian to be here, by the way. So I'm actually very thankful to you, Stian, for offering your time. It's 2 hours. I mean, it's a valuable, your time is valuable. And I'm really thankful for Matteo and Stian to be here. and to say this. I think it's really coming from their heart. What I'm doing is coming from the heart. I'm trying to teach you guys. We're not trying to be the cheapest. We're just trying to find that balance point between like what is it, like we don't want to be completely out of range, like a 9,000 pound tuition.
Mm-hmm.
And still schools are getting away with charging that kind of commission. But I really do want as many people to access this teaching as possible. At the same time, we can't afford to have the amount of work that we put into people that email us at Udemy prices. This is not Udemy. This is not
Yeah.
Udemy. That's the best way I can put it.
The thing is, if you want a degree, it would be like 3 years, and it costs that much, so much, 9,000 a year. Whereas if you want to make music for brands and earn money and actually put the effort in, you can take this masterclass in, like, you can do it in, I don't know, a couple of weeks if you want to, or you can drag it out over a year or half a year. For me, it took about, because I worked full time, took about 3 months to do the masterclass with the homework and everything that comes with it. And then afterwards, 3 emails a day for like, half a year or something.
Sometime. Yeah.
Someone was wondering how they can find footage to score to. Do we find existing commercials without the audio?
It would be nice to maybe just to practice a little bit. If you go on some websites like Ads of the World or something like that, you can download those spots. Maybe you through some website, AI website, whatever, you cut out like the music and you just go with the voiceover or anything like that, or maybe you just cut everything out, so you can basically practice a little bit. And maybe that's a good thing, not because you're gonna show those spots, because it would it's not something that I would suggest you to do, but it's more because you're gonna approach that score like if you were scoring a real spot. So that could be a good practice to create a reel that is going to sound as something applicable for producers when you're going to reach out. So it's not absolutely about having visuals. I didn't have visuals. Stian didn't have visuals. It's about like the music. It's about creating a reel that maybe could be about 90 seconds. You get the best of your tracks. Basically, it could be 10 seconds. It could be 5 seconds, whatever. You build this reel of 90 seconds maximum, and you put that on your website, and you will see that if the music is good, it's absolutely enough. And when you start having finals, you update the website with that. But yeah, there's plenty of websites. You could go even to some music houses websites and see their spots, and you maybe you see something that you like and you try to recreate that. It's really up to you, but it's not a problem if you don't have any visuals.
Is this industry better for producers, or can you be a singer-songwriter and not have production quality and do this? That's another question.
Well, I think that being a singer-songwriter probably is the best foundation you can possibly have. So if the production is not there yet, you can get there. But having the like the approach of a songwriter, like Stian mentioned, is a game changer, because it's you can be a composer and come up with good music, good instrumentals, but when you're a songwriter that writes scores with that approach in this world, is going to be a game changer, because like your scores, no matter if they're 15 seconds, 30 seconds, they're always gonna sound like real music. And producers know that, but producers are musicians as well, so they know. But what is good is that when the client, the creative directors at agencies that, and they don't know anything about music, they can tell that your music is different, and it's because of that, because you're going to have a different approach that is going to make your sound like, and your track stand out, because it feels like, wow, this is real, like, so I think it's the best foundation. So study a little bit, get into production a little bit more, and you're gonna have great results, I guess.
I would recommend learning how to produce your music to definitely to a decent standard. But most of the jobs that I've kind of gone final on, I always have to send stems. They want, like, the music production company or music house
That's true.
wants my stems, and then they do the mixing. That so, but I tend to like mix it and put on. Sometimes I do AI mastering because the deadline is so quick. I just like chuck it in AI mastering, and then I know that's such a no-no because we want to use people. But in this world, the briefs are so quick that you just have to use what you have.
Well, it's one
Um,
example of how AI can help,
mhm.
because your magic is not the mixing mastering. It's the fact that you're giving me a vocal, a song that suits the visuals. So that's beautiful. Let me run quickly through some of these. Does having a robust social media presence necessary to get the attention of music houses? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, I know some of the
Absolutely
people that
not.
I work with, um, like Ruben. I don't think they have a robust social media presence. If they have any at all, they're hidden. These guys are hidden. Like, they just met the right people and they have the right skill set. Now, having said that, would it help to tell your story in an age where you can learn a lot about a person through their Instagram? I think it would.
Mhm.
But is it going to make or break your career? No, not in this business. Not in this business. If you're an artist, I think you need a robust social media. But if you're a freelance composer, I don't see how that would make a difference, because a lot of music producers are not on social media, and if they're not on this one, you're not on that one. So like, they they just need to
Exactly.
solve a problem. They just need to
Yeah.
solve a problem, and maybe you can be the person. So no, that shouldn't stop you. If I paid a dem if paid for a demo fee but not chosen, can you reshop? Sometimes yes, a lot of times no. It really depends on the music house. I will let my like whoever I paid a demo fee to reshop their fee, but they have to stay in touch with me about it, because I'm constantly trying to shop their demo to other campaigns. We don't want to end up in a situation where you're shopping and selling a demo and a music house that actually paid you for that demo actually sells it to someone else, and now you have same demo sold to two brands. That's a no-no. Um, so be open, or understand that some music houses will literally tell you straight up, no, you can't shop your demo. We paid you a
Mhm.
demo fee and it's ours. And some will be a little cooler than that.
And when they say it's ours, they don't mean that they own it, but they have exclusive right to pitch it.
Exactly.
Most of
Yeah,
the time, you own the right to it, but you can't
exactly.
pitch it to
Yeah.
other people.
That's a
Yeah.
good uh caveat. Um, is this industry better for producers? We answered that. How do we find footage to score? We
Yeah,
already
we see
answered
that.
that, I think. Google
Silly
download it
question.
through YouTube.
What
Yeah.
what exactly is a reel? Same as Instagram reel?
No, a reel is this.
Yeah.
Watch this. This is a reel. This is an audio only reel. Okay. It's playing through my laptop. You can go to Stian, VEDOY.com, and you can listen to what an example of an audio only reel sounds like. And then you have reels like this, which is like, yeah, a reel of finished campaigns that Stian actually scored,
Yeah.
or Matteo.
Basically, a reel is maybe 2 minutes maximum of loads of small clips from a lot of songs that you have written or produced with a cool fade between the songs.
Yeah.
Um,
Timothy asks, do you have a way to see if you think someone is ready to do this? No. I've literally enrolled people in the masterclass who are literally just starting. They're just starting, like making music. They haven't even built their monitors. Do you know why I don't care? Because I know we're giving value. Like,
mm.
so basically, you're going to learn how to make music in a very focused way and learn about an industry where you could possibly make money once you're ready. So I don't care. I don't make a qualification, because you don't even
And
know what following these steps is going to result in.
and also because yeah, there could be somebody like their music maybe is really really good, but maybe they don't, like, in terms of attitude, they don't have the right thing. So maybe they just give up when it comes to outreach and stuff like that. So in a way, yeah, the music maybe is in place, but something else is missing. So it's really hard to say.
Yeah. And there is a payment plan. The payment plan will cost you, I think, $200 more. Because it's like financing, you know. We're absorbing the cost of actually doing the feedback and all of this when you're starting with a smaller payment. So it's usually this way. It's still a discount from the usual offer, the payment plan. It's just a little more than if you pay up front. Do brands look for cover songs? Yes, they do. They do very often. It's a very cool gig if you can cover famous tracks. Did you start with expensive equipment? No, I started with a laptop and Reason. My first reel that got me into advertising was done on Reason, in Reason, and Logic before I even got into Ableton. So a few more questions, then we go, guys. And then honestly, we don't want to leave you hanging. Support at makingmusicforbrands.com. Last question for me, silly. Do you score to the footage or do you just create the track and someone else puts the music to your footage? No, you import the footage into your DAW and you literally learn how to write to the picture. And so in the masterclass, we give you countless examples of composers showing you how they scored an ad with the picture in it and all of that. And that's what makes composing for brands cool also, is because you're writing to something, which I find particularly rewarding.
Sometimes you will have pre-visual. So basically, you have to compose something first from a feeling that they give you or something like that. And then, yeah, but it has to be 1 minute long, for example. They give you parameters. And then they might choose the best out of those songs and send that song to the editor. And then the editor edits to that song. But most of the time, you will have visuals first, and then you compose directly to the visuals.
Yeah, yeah. Matteo, Stian, really heartfelt thanks again to you guys for doing this. We're gonna, I mean, Matteo's already our mentor in the masterclass. I want to bring in Stian also to be a mentor so that you guys can have access to these guys who are, I think, by my estimation, I've been doing this for a while, they are the model of what you should be aiming for as far as craftspeople. With their versatility and ability. So I want to thank you guys very much. I want to thank you to everyone who stuck around with us for 2 hours. I did not plan for this to be 2 hours. It's a bit crazy, but I'm really happy that you're here. And that shows me a different mindset. You know, you stick around for this, you realize it's valuable. Damn, how much we wish someone would sit down and talk to us this way when we were starting. It really cost me years, honestly, of wasted bullshit because I was doing all the wrong things, spending money where I didn't need, building stupid websites, calling ad agencies. Guys, I'm a composer. Like, who? What? Why are you calling us? Now you know who to call. Music producers at music houses, you know. And but anyway, thank you guys for being here. Support at makingmusicforbrands.com if you have questions. A few days for the discount on the masterclass. You guys are the first to know. If you have questions about it, just send it to support at Making Music for Brands. Wishing you all a great day, a great evening, a great week ahead. Please, please, please take 3 deep breaths before you see any email in your inbox that says 80% off on this or that VST or this or that, whatever. I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm saying buy it consciously. Surround yourself with the right people and the right things in your environment because they shape you. Okay. And the things that you don't need, they steal your energy. Literally, they steal your physical energy because you're looking at it going, why are you here? Why did I buy this? So be very careful with this. And that's it, guys. From the heart, gratitude, sending you much love wherever you are. All my best, whether you enroll or not, I don't care. I'm glad to have spent some time with you, and big love to everyone. And we'll see you on our channel or inside of the academy, wherever, or in our email inbox, guys. Stian, Matteo, and Marion. Also, you're invisible. It's another crew part of our family, but you don't see him. Also, big thanks to you for preparing everything. And guys, I'll see you around. Okay, all the best. Ciao.
All the best. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
See ya.